Every one of them probably have better stories than I do and can tell them better than I can. But one thing about it, I was always a good listener. As I grew up, I often went with my dad to the stores at Belknap and at Foreman to loaf and to listen to the old timers that would gather there. I suspect that most other country stores had a bunch of loafers that would gather on long winter evenings and swap stories. Sometimes, as I would sit there and look around, I'd be the only kid there in the store. The others would be out playing, running, wrestling, squabbling, but I loved to hear the stories that the old men told of things that had happened a long time ago. Tales of hunting and logging and accidents and strange events. Now, I wish I could remember more of them. Most of all, I wish I could tell them, though, like they did. You know, there's an art to telling a story. A lot of what I try to retell today aren't all that exciting. But the way an old man could tell it at the Williams store in Belknap in the 1940s would have me sitting on the edge of my seat wondering what was going to happen next. The way in which it was told made a difference, of course, but the atmosphere also has a lot to do with the effectiveness of a tale. For me to tell the ghost story here today wouldn't be the same as if we were all sitting in some dark room around an old heating stove, the cold wind blowing outside. In other words, the environment has a lot to do with storytelling, of course. There are a lot of stories about things that people are afraid of. One thing in particular was snakes. Nobody seemed to like snakes. Everybody seemed to have a snake tail, and I'm sure you've all heard several. My grandparents always told me about the hoop snake. Now, you all know what a hoop snake is. The hoop snake has a stinger in the end of its tail, and it reaches around and grabs the end of its tail in its mouth and then rolls along just like a hook. And they're dangerous. Grandma said that at one place they lived, and this was near Samoth too, a hoop snake lived under the porch. She said that once in a while, late in the evening, that hoop snake would come rolling out from under the house, and it would roll right down the middle street of Samoth. She said people would scatter, run inside, get behind trees, and that nobody was brave enough to even try to kill it. One evening, she said she was sitting on the porch, and here it came, rolling back right up towards their house, and ran right into the big white oak tree that stood in the yard. It stung that tree because the leaves withered before dark, and she said that tree died as dead as a hammer. Grandma always asked me what I thought that would have done if it had run into a person.